Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, while Bitcoin is still rejecting from this resistance, we're seeing Bitcoin currently form a new price pattern in the short term, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is now bouncing from this important level of support based on previous resistance, which we need to pay attention to, while the price of Chainlink is continuing the rejection from this significant area of resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin price chart, and right now the super trend indicator on this time frame is still sitting in the red, so not a lot has changed on this chart over the last one day. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, of course, we're still seeing the bearish signal ultimately play out here in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. But as I've been saying for almost a week now, for over half a week, we are approaching potentially a low point in the histogram within the MACD indicator. And if we're looking at the last couple of times this has happened in the weekly Bitcoin MACD indicator, that's basically marked the maximum amount of bearish momentum within these bearish movements. And so in other words, possibly the worst is behind us right now, but not necessarily the end of the bearish price action. Obviously, like what we saw back here, we ultimately did see a little bit more bearish price action later on before finally seeing a recovery a few months later. And of course, as I've also been mentioning recently here on the channel, we've not actually confirmed the low point yet in the MACD indicator in the histogram. It's just we're potentially approaching a low point, which will likely be confirmed in the coming weeks based on the current trajectory. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, we still have a significant bearish divergence to pay attention to, meaning we should not necessarily expect a significant amount of bullish momentum towards the upside, at least anytime soon. And I've been saying that basically every day for over 2 months now on the channel, and so far this has been playing out exactly as expected. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, we're currently still finding a lot of support at around 82,500 based on this 38.2% Fibonacci level of support at 82.5k. But if we break below that level and below around 82,000, in that case, the next important retracement level of support is sitting at close to 76,000 approximately. And below that, we have significant support in between around 70,000 to 74,000 based on previous significant resistance becoming new support, and also based on the volume profile indicator showing a lot of support at close to 70,000. And so those are some of the important support levels that I'm paying attention to for the price of Bitcoin here on the 3-day chart and the daily time frame. And as for resistance, we are currently rejecting from this area of resistance sitting in between 86,000 to 88,000. And so obviously, as I've been saying for a while now on the channel, expect a lot of resistance, expect the price to struggle from within around 86 to 88,000, and I've been saying that since before this rejection has obviously now started to play out as expected. But if the price of Bitcoin can ultimately confirm a breakout at some point above around 88,000 with candle closes confirming above that level and ideally flipping that into new support, then in that situation we'd likely see a continued bullish relief beyond 90,000 back into the low 90k area. So for example, around 91k to 92k, around there would likely find significant resistance as well. And technically speaking, on the daily time frame, we still have this bullish divergence, which is still currently active. So despite the price currently playing out a small rejection from this resistance, we've not yet confirmed an invalidation signal to invalidate this bullish divergence, which means at least based on this signal on the daily time frame, this is telling us we're likely going to see either a slight bullish relief continue or just some choppy sideways price action here in the shorter term for the coming days. And so as I mentioned recently here on the channel, with this bullish divergence technically still active at the same time as the price running into resistance, basically I'd not be surprised if the price plays out a bit of a sideways consolidation, basically just chopping around sideways as we're trying to play out the bullish divergence but also running into resistance, causing some rejections from that area. And while we're playing out this shorter term bullish divergence here in the daily time frame, we are also currently forming an ascending parallel channel here on the 2-hour Bitcoin price chart, which is also visible example, on the 3 and the 4 hour Bitcoin price chart, because as we can see here, we simply have an ascending line of support parallel to this ascending line of resistance. And right now, this line of resistance is sitting at approximately 87 to 88,000, closer towards that 88k level. And as for support, this is sitting at just above 82,000 at around 82.3k as of right now. And if we're looking at the center line for the parallel channel, right now it's sitting at close to 85,000. And usually, not always, but oftentimes the center line acts as a bit of support or resistance. So right now, considering the current price of Bitcoin as of recording this video is below the center line, that could likely act as resistance at approximately 85,000. And also based on previous resistance here in the short term, sitting at 85k as well. And so right now, based on this ascending parallel channel, at least on the 2-hour time frame, only looking at the immediate short term here, technically speaking, this is indeed a short-term bullish trend, forming higher lows and higher highs. So for now, while the price is still holding above this line of support at, once again, around 82k approximately, technically we're looking slightly more bullish than we are bearish, at least in the short term. And once again, one of the main causes for this is this bullish divergence actively playing out on the daily time frame. But remember, this is just talking about the shorter term here. Ultimately, when we're zooming out, at least for now, we are currently looking slightly more bearish than we are bullish based on this massive bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, and also this bearish signal technically still playing out in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, and also the super trend indicator still sitting in the red. So on the larger time frames, technically we're looking slightly more bearish than we are bullish, but in the immediate short term, due to this bullish divergence playing out and this ascending parallel channel, technically we're looking slightly more bullish than we are bearish just in the short term for a period of days, maybe weeks. And a simple trading strategy based on this ascending parallel channel could be just, for example, to buy at the support line, or buy basically as we enter the lower half of the ascending parallel channel, and then take profits or possibly open small short positions around this line of resistance, and especially other significant levels of resistance. And so as always, not financial advice. I'm not a personal financial advisor, but that's just an example of a simple trading strategy based on this price pattern where we can indeed profit during this type of price action. And if you want to actually trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I'm taking a lot of my trades over on BTNex, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNex below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this sign up page where you can claim an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees forever. That's a massive fee discount that lasts forever on your account, but only if you use that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video to BTNex. And in case you're wondering, BTNex is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNex as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another no KYC exchange that I also use myself. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video as well. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and right now we still have a major area of liquidity sitting in between around 71,000 to 74,000, and also at close to 100,000. So honestly, over the last couple of days here, not a lot has changed in this Bitcoin liquidation heat map. So getting straight into Ethereum, looking at the weekly Ethereum price chart, technically speaking, the larger price structure is still currently bearish for Ethereum. And so at least on the weekly time frame, not a lot has changed over the last 1 day. But if we're taking a look at the 3-day time frame right now, and over the last 1 week approximately, we have seen a bounce from this Fibonacci level of support sitting at around 1870 to 1880 approximately, based on this 78.6% Fibonacci level of support. So basically in the high 1.8k range, just below 1.9k, we do have a decent amount of support around there. And as for resistance, we have a lot of resistance based on previous significant support flipping into new resistance at approximately 2.1k to 2.2k, acting as major resistance. And as for other support towards the downside, if we were to actually break below, let's just say 1870 with candle closes below that level, and especially if we fail to regain that level and we actually flip that into new resistance, then in that situation, the next significant support towards the downside below this Fibonacci level would be sitting at just above 1.5k, 1,500. But if we're zooming further into the short term, just before this Fibonacci level of support, we also have some short-term support support to pay attention to based on this previous line of resistance now flipping into new support, which is something to pay attention to here in the short term, and that's sitting at around 1930 to 1940 approximately. And so at least in the short term, this is some bullish price structure to pay attention to, because as always, if we break out above resistance, then flip it into new support, that is obviously price structure heading in the bullish direction. So at least in the short term, that is some good news. And of course, as you could probably already see, we did have a bit of a symmetrical triangle pattern or horizontal triangle pattern, which effectively already played out here in the short term. Obviously, we already broke out towards the upside and also already hit the price target for this triangle pattern. So that already played out, but the previous line of resistance is currently acting as support, which, like I said earlier, is still something to pay attention to. But if we actually break below around 1930 to 1940, in that situation, simply just pay attention to that high 1.8k range. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the weekly time frame, right now Solana is still just simply trading within this major area of support, sitting in between 120 to 130. So honestly, not a lot has changed on this chart over the last one day. And if we're taking a look at this daily time frame, technically speaking, the bullish divergence on the daily Solana chart is still currently active. And so in case you're new to all of this, as I always say, a bullish divergence means we're most likely going to see either a slight bullish relief or just some choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. And so far for the last 1 week, that's pretty much exactly what has played out as expected. But as I also always say, a bullish divergence does not necessarily guarantee a massive bullish trend reversal. So don't necessarily expect that based on this signal alone, but do expect a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the 3-day time frame, right now the larger bearish divergence on this chart is technically still currently active. As I've been saying for months now on the channel, I've been saying don't expect significant bullish momentum towards the upside really anytime soon, and obviously that's been perfectly playing out as expected. But as I've also been saying, of course, we can see some short-term bullish price action here and there, just not necessarily significant momentum towards the upside. And if we're taking a look at this 8-hour time frame, looking at the shorter term for the price of XRP, we still have support in between around $2.24 to $2.30, and major support in between around $1.95 to $2.05. And as for resistance, we have a lot of resistance at just above around $2.60, around $2.65 give or take, going all the way up towards around $2.80, and also more resistance at close to $3. And for now, the price of XRP, in terms of the short-term trend and momentum, we're kind of lacking momentum to either direction. Obviously, in the immediate short term, we have played out a bit of short-term bullish price structure, breaking out above this area and flipping it into new support, which is some short-term bullish price structure once again. But obviously, due to this larger bearish divergence, this is still telling us don't expect significant momentum towards the upside. And so ultimately, it's kind of balancing out to form a bit of sideways price action. Really, if we're looking at the last 1 month, give or take, we're basically just chopping around sideways within a bit of a sideways price range between support and resistance. And so that's still the situation right now for the price of XRP. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, Chainlink is technically still playing out this bullish divergence on the daily chart. Technically, it's not yet invalid. And so as I've already been saying here on the channel, this means we're likely going to see just a slight bullish relief, or at the very least, a bit of choppy sideways price action as the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. But with the price of Chainlink running into previous significant support, this previous golden pocket area of support now acting as new resistance, obviously this is significant resistance. Expect the price to struggle around this area on the price chart, and the area I'm talking about, in case you're new to this channel, is sitting in between around $14.90 to $15.50, so roughly around $15 give or take as major resistance. But if we can ultimately confirm a breakout above around $15, but ideally above $15.50, with candle closes actually confirming on the daily time frame above that level, and ideally flipping that into new support, holding that as new support, then in that situation, the next level I'll be targeting beyond around $15.50 would be sitting at around $17.50, based on this previous 50% retracement level of support flipping into new resistance. And if that were to actually play out, there's the possibility we could form an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. And honestly, if we start to form that, that could finally be a bullish trend reversal signal for the price of Chainlink, finally reversing this larger bearish trend. But obviously, we still have a long way to go to potentially confirm that, because in the meantime, we are still finding a lot of resistance at close to $15 to $15.50, give or take. And as for support, if we continue this short-term rejection, expect a lot of support at roughly around 1270 to 1280 based on this 78.6% Fibonacci level of support. But honestly, over the next few days, just talking about the imminent short term, I do not expect a lot of momentum to either direction for the price of Chainlink, considering the bullish divergence is still playing out, but we're within a larger bearish trend and running into resistance, most likely going to cause a bit of sideways price action just in the immediate short term here for the coming days. But once again, if you want to get set up ready to go to take the next trading opportunity in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto for yourself, no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.